The observatory's high-altitude silence, once Eris Thorne's remedy against the world's clamor, had become a held breath, heavy with unspoken dread. The thin air carried a faint metallic tang, like static gathering before a storm. It clung to the throat, to the teeth, an aftertaste of something not yet arrived. Outside, the Milky Way, which had always seemed sprinkled with distant diamonds, shimmered oddly. Not steady pinpricks, but a living, pulsating luminescence that bent and breathed. At first he blamed fatigue, the long nights and colder seasons, but the sensation persisted, an itch behind his eyes, a cold finger tracing down his spine. The very fabric of night felt thinner, brittle, and taut, as if silk stretched over a void, ready to tear and reveal what lay beyond. Then came the whispers. Not words, not sounds, but a pervasive presence that threaded itself under his instruments, under his skin. Data feeds glitched into impossible readings, phantom stars blooming and collapsing in the same frame, nebulae shifting like smoke across continents of vacuum, gravitational wave spikes that should not have been anywhere in their models. His primary telescope, the Sentinel, began to pulse with an unplaceable resonant thrum, a vibration that felt like pressure against the teeth or a drumbeat behind the sternum. The system diagnostics reported nothing, routine, normal. Yet the anomalies gathered insistent and precise, weaving a cosmic tapestry threaded with impossibility. Starlight altered its routine, beating in an erratic rhythm, a distant metronome that seemed to be signaling in a language he could not yet parse. Sleep evaporated. Shadows consolidated into intent. Every distant creak became a cadence of steps. Aris found himself mistrusting perception, wondering whether months of isolation had ground his mind down, if the mountain had at last cracked him. He paced the control room. His reflection in the monitors looked like a gaunt stranger, eyes hollowed by vigil. He scanned external cameras with the compulsion of a man half expecting silhouettes where none should be. Paranoia arrived as a companion, cool, patient, suggesting an omnipresent observer perched beyond human thresholds, not bodily but pervasive, a lingua franca of awareness without form. The confrontation came not with fanfare, but crystalline clarity. While calibrating spectral analysis, the Sentinel locked on not to a star but to an absence, a point of nothing that radiated an impossible refracted light. It was not an object but a perspective, a vast gaze that returned his observation with comprehension. He felt in the marrow a touch, not violent but utterly shattering, an instant of absolute understanding that collapsed his private cosmos. This presence existed not in space, but as space itself, an architecture of incomprehensible dimensions that reduced his cognition to a candle flickering against a supernova. Weeks later they found him in the control room, curled among meticulously labeled printouts of impossible data. His eyes held the mute, terrible calm of someone who had been shown too much. He could not speak. Sanity lay wrecked ashore on the shoals of some cosmic truth. On windless nights, those who passed the mountains still remarked on a faint metallic tang riding the air, and if one watched the heavens long enough, the stars seemed to flicker with a rhythm that had once been indifferent. The pulse persisted, and somewhere in the deep dark, whatever had listened, still listened.